The scent of her perfume always hit me first. Sweet, familiar, deceptive. I turned my head as the door clicked open. "You're late again," I said softly, pretending not to care. Clara dropped her bag on the couch, brushing her hair off her face. "Work ran long, Ethan. We had a client meeting. Another one?" I tried to sound casual, but my voice cracked. "You've had meetings every night this week," she laughed lightly. "You think I enjoy working till midnight?" I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. I forced a smile. "No, I just worry." "You look exhausted." She walked past me, kissed my cheek, and murmured, "Don't wait up next time, okay?" Then she disappeared into the shower. The house fell silent except for the sound of water running. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone on the nightstand. It kept lighting up, one message after another. I told myself, "Don't touch it." But my hands didn't listen. When I glanced at the screen, my heart stumbled. "Can't wait to see you again. Same time tomorrow?" The words sliced through me. I read them twice, 3 times, hoping I was imagining them. When the bathroom door opened, I quickly locked the phone and put it back. She stepped out, towel around her neck. "Why are you still up?" I tried to keep my voice steady. "Just couldn't sleep." Her eyes met mine for a second, searching. "Ethan, are you okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, just tired," she smiled faintly. "Then come to bed." I watched her climb under the sheets as if nothing was wrong. I lay beside her, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathing, slow into sleep. Inside, I was unraveling. The next morning, she hummed while getting ready for work. I sat by the table, coffee untouched. "Another meeting today?" I asked. "Probably," she said, pulling her hair into a bun. "You know how the boss is. Lucas doesn't stop till midnight." I swallowed hard. That name, Lucas, sounded heavier now. "You talk about him a lot lately." She paused. "He's my boss, Ethan. That's normal." "I know. She sighed. "Ethan, you've got to trust me." "You think I'd lie to you?" Her voice softened at the end, but I heard something underneath. Tiredness or guilt, I couldn't tell. "I do trust you," I said finally. "Maybe too much." She walked over and cupped my face. "You're overthinking again." "Please don't." When she left, the room felt emptier than usual. I sat there tracing the rim of her coffee cup with my finger, wondering why my chest felt like it was caving in. That night, I waited by the window. Midnight came and went. The streetlights flickered, shadows shifting. I told myself she's working. She's working, but every hour stretched like a knife. When I finally heard her key turn, I forced a smile. "How was overtime?" She froze for half a second, just enough for me to notice. Then she smiled. "Tiring. I need a shower." "Clara," I called as she headed to the bathroom. "You sure everything's okay at work?" She turned. "Yeah, why?" "Just asking." She smiled again, that same soft, rehearsed smile. "You worry too much." As she closed the door, I whispered, "Maybe not enough." The sound of water filled the silence again. I stared at the phone on the table. My reflection looked back at me through the black screen. Tired eyes, trembling lips, a man clinging to hope that no longer existed. I didn't check it this time. I didn't need to. The truth was already there, hiding behind her perfume and that late-night smile. I lay in bed again, eyes wide open, whispering into the dark. "Please, Clara. Tell me I'm wrong," but only silence answered. I stared at my screen all morning, the code blurring into nothing. Noah leaned on my desk. "Dude, you've been typing the same line for 10 minutes. "I'm fine," I muttered. He raised an eyebrow. "Fine? You look like someone stole your soul." "Clara giving you the cold shoulder?" My jaw tightened. "She's just busy." "Busy, huh?" "Late nights, missed calls. Sounds like she's too busy for love." His laugh was light, but it hit me like glass. I forced a grin. "You watch too many dramas, man," Noah shrugged. "I'm just saying women who start hiding their phones? Never a good sign." The words crawled under my skin and stayed there. All day, I couldn't focus. Every text notification made my heart skip, but none were from her. I checked my phone again, nothing. When I got home, the apartment was dark. Her shoes weren't by the door, I whispered to myself. She said she'd be late. Overtime again. I sat by the window, staring at the street below. The clock ticked past 11. Every sound outside made me flinch. When midnight came, I laughed bitterly.
"She's still at work."
She has to be. But then headlights cut through the darkness. A black car stopped outside the building. My hands shook as I pulled the curtain slightly. I saw her. Clara. She stepped out of the car, smiling, her hair falling loose over her shoulders. The man beside her, tall, confident, walked around to open her door. Lucas, her boss. Even from here, I could see the way he looked at her, like she belonged to him. She said something, laughed softly, then placed her hand on his arm. He touched her fingers. My breath caught in my throat. I whispered, "No, please no." The scene burned into me like fire. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. My heart thudded so loud I thought they could hear it from the street. When she finally turned toward the building, Lucas didn't leave right away. He watched her walk inside, smiling. Then he got in his car and drove off. I stood there, frozen, my reflection staring back from the glass, broken, trembling and utterly silent. When she walked in moments later, I was still by the window. She gasped, "Ethan, you scared me. Why are you standing there in the dark?" I didn't move. "How was work?" She smiled nervously. "Exhausting. We had to review a client proposal till late. With Lucas?" Her smile faltered. "Yeah, he offered to drop me home. Why?" I forced a laugh that didn't sound human. "No reason. Just asking." She tilted her head. "You sound strange. Are you mad at me?" "Should I be?" "Ethan," she sighed, setting her purse down. "I don't know what's going on in your head lately, but you've changed." I looked at her, and for a second I wanted to scream everything I'd seen, but the words stuck in my throat like poison. "I'm just tired," I whispered. "Then stop waiting up for me," she said, softer now. "I don't want you losing sleep over my schedule," I smiled weakly. "You're right. I won't." She touched my arm lightly, her perfume wrapping around me, the same scent that now felt like betrayal. "I love you, Ethan," she said before walking to the bedroom. Her words hung in the air like smoke. I didn't follow her. I sat on the couch watching the clock strike 1, 2, 3. I replayed the moment again and again, the way he looked at her, the way she laughed. Every second I tried to convince myself there was another explanation. Maybe I saw wrong. Maybe it was just kindness. Maybe I was the problem, but deep down I knew. When dawn light slipped through the curtains, I whispered to the empty room. "I saw it." "Clara." "I saw everything," my voice cracked, but there was no one to hear it. For the first time since I met her, I didn't feel love. I felt hollow. The kind of hollow that swallows everything around it, and as the sun rose, I realized something I'd been too afraid to face. I didn't lose her tonight. I lost her a long time ago. I didn't sleep. The image of Clara laughing beside Lucas haunted me till sunrise. By morning, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. When she walked into the kitchen humming, I said quietly, "We need to talk." She looked up, surprised. "About what?" "About last night." Her smile faded. "Ethan, please. Not before coffee." I clenched my jaw. "I saw you outside with Lucas." She froze, cup halfway to her lips. "You were spying on me?" "I was waiting for you," I said sharply. "And then I saw you step out of his car at midnight." You laughed. "He touched your hand." Her expression hardened. "So he dropped me off. That's all. Then why didn't you mention it?" "Because I knew you'd react like this," she snapped. "You're being paranoid again." "Paranoid?" I laughed bitterly. "Clara, I saw it with my own eyes." "You think I'm cheating?" she demanded. "I don't know what to think anymore," I admitted, voice breaking. "But something's wrong." "You're different. You don't talk to me, you hide your phone." She cut me off. "You're insecure, Ethan, that's your problem." Her words hit like stones. "Insecure?" I whispered. "Because I care?" "Because you don't trust me." "I did trust you, until you gave me reasons not to." She sighed loudly, like she was tired of the whole thing. "I'm late for work." I stepped in front of her. "You're not walking away from this." I have no reason to explain myself to someone who doesn't believe me. My throat burned. "So that's it? You lie and I'm the one at fault?" She grabbed her purse. "Ethan, I don't have time for this drama." I stared at her, my voice trembling. "Do you still love me?" She paused, avoiding my eyes. "Of course I do," she said softly. But her tone didn't match the words. She left without another glance. Hours later, I sat in my car outside her office building. I told myself I wouldn't do this again, but my heart refused to listen. At noon, she walked out, not in her usual work clothes, but in a white dress I'd never seen before. Her hair was loose, her lipstick darker. She didn't look like someone heading to the office. "Where are you going, Clara?" I whispered. I started the car and followed from a distance. My heart pounded with every turn. She didn't head downtown. Instead, she stopped in front of a quiet cafe on Oak Street. She looked around before going in. I parked a block away, my hands trembling as I got out. The cafe windows were wide and clear. I stood outside, half hidden by the corner wall. Then I saw him. Lucas. He was already seated at a corner table, smiling as she approached. She smiled back, the same soft, familiar smile she used to give me. I pressed my hand against the glass, breath catching in my throat. They talked. She laughed. He leaned closer. And then, without hesitation, her fingers brushed his across the table. He didn't pull away. Neither did she. Something inside me cracked. I wanted to burst in, to scream, to ask why. But my body wouldn't move. My mind felt split between rage and disbelief. When she reached across the table and touched his cheek, I turned away. I couldn't watch anymore. I walked back to my car, vision blurry. My reflection in the mirror looked like a stranger, pale, hollow-eyed, broken. I whispered, "She lied to me." My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. "She said I was paranoid." The words echoed in my head again and again. A voice inside me said, "You still love her." Another voice whispered, "She doesn't love you anymore." I slammed my fist against the wheel. "Why, Clara? Why would you do this to me?" No answer. Just the sound of my own breathing, heavy, uneven, empty. I sat there for a long time, watching people pass by, laughing, living, loving, while my world quietly collapsed inside a parked car. When I finally started the engine, I didn't know where to go. All I knew was that nothing between us would ever be the same again. Days blurred together after that morning. The house felt like a museum of everything we used to be, quiet, cold, full of ghosts that looked like us. Clara moved around me like I wasn't there. One evening, I tried to speak. "Clara, can we talk?" She didn't even look up from her phone. "About what?" "About us. About how we became strangers," she sighed. "Ethan, not this again." "Then when?" I asked. "We live under the same roof, but you act like I'm invisible." She set her phone down slowly. "You made things awkward. You accused me of something I didn't do." "Didn't do?" I laughed quietly. "I saw you with Lucas." "You saw a moment," she said sharply. "Not the whole story." "Then tell me the story." Her eyes flickered. "You wouldn't believe it anyway." "Try me." She hesitated, then shook her head. "I'm tired. I can't keep defending myself for something innocent." I swallowed the ache rising in my throat. "Innocent people don't hide." Her jaw tightened. "You're exhausting, Ethan." She walked away, and I stood there, drowning in the silence she left behind. At night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Her soft breathing came from the other side of the bed, but it felt like she was miles away. Every vibration of her phone stabbed through the dark. She'd turn its screen down, fingers trembling slightly before drifting back to sleep. I whispered into the dark, "Who are you talking to, Clara?" No answer, just silence. By morning, I couldn't eat. Coffee tasted like ash. My body moved, but my heart didn't. When my phone rang, I didn't want to answer, but it was Ava. "Ethan? You sound dead," she said gently. "I might be," I muttered. "What happened?" "Everything," she sighed softly. "You still haven't left her, have you?" "I can't," I admitted. "Not yet." "Why not?" "Because she needs to know what she's done." A pause. "That sounds dangerous, Ethan." I laughed bitterly. "No, not like that. I just want her to see it, to feel even a piece of what I'm feeling." "She won't," Ava said quietly. "People like that, they don't feel guilt. They just move on." I closed my eyes. "Then maybe I need to move on too." "Maybe?" "I don't know how," I whispered. "Every room reminds me of her. Every sound. Every smell." Ava's voice softened. "Then start small. Leave for a while. Stay with me if you have to." I hesitated. "You'd let me?" "Of course," she said. "You don't deserve to live like this." Her kindness cracked something inside me. I swallowed hard. "Thank you, Ava. Promise me you'll think about it." I will. Ethan, she said after a moment, you're not the same person anymore. I can hear it in your voice. I laughed weakly. Who am I then? Someone who's lost his soul, she whispered. The words hit harder than she knew. That night, I sat on the porch with a cigarette I didn't light. The world outside was quiet, but inside my head it screamed. Clara's laughter echoed faintly through the open window. She was on another call. I stared into the dark. Still Lucas? I whispered. Or someone new? The idea twisted my stomach. When she came outside minutes later, she startled. What are you doing out here? Thinking, I said. About what? You, she crossed her arms. Can we not do this every night? I wish I didn't have to. She rolled her eyes. Then stop. Stop caring? I asked. Stop accusing. Maybe those are the same thing now. She turned away. I'm done talking. I let out a shaky breath. You've been done for a while. She froze but didn't turn back. You always twist things. No, I said softly. I just finally see them clearly. She went inside, leaving the door half open. I sat there till the sky started turning pale, thinking about Ava's voice about leaving, about what freedom might feel like after so much noise and silence. Inside, I heard Clara's alarm ring. Another day beginning. Another day pretending, I whispered to myself, not for long. For the first time in weeks, my heart didn't break. It burned. I stood by the window, pretending to scroll through emails. Clara's voice floated from the hallway. Don't wait up tonight, she said. We've got another late meeting. I turned, keeping my tone steady. Funny, I've got overtime too, she blinked, surprised. Really? Yeah, I said with a faint smile. Guess we're both busy saving the world. Her lips curved in relief. Good. I was worried you'd feel alone. Not tonight, I murmured. Inside, my pulse thundered. Her lies slid out too easily, smooth, rehearsed. When she left, the echo of her heels down the hallway sounded like a countdown. I waited 5 minutes, then grabbed my jacket. My reflection in the mirror looked hollow, almost unrecognizable. Let's see how deep this lie goes, I whispered. The city glowed wet beneath the drizzle. Her taillights blinked through the mist like distant warnings. I kept my distance, following each turn, my breath fogging the window. Don't do this, a voice in my head said. Just go home. But another voice, sharper, cut through. You deserve to know. When her car slowed near the hotel, my chest clenched. The golden sign, Riverside Grand. I'd passed it 100 times, never thinking it would become my battlefield. She parked. A tall man in a dark coat approached, Lucas. Even from here, his confidence was suffocating. He smiled as if the world was his. Clara stepped out. Her laugh floated through the air, soft, familiar, poisonous. Good to see you again, Lucas said, his voice deep, arrogant. She brushed her hair behind her ear. You too. He touched her hand briefly like a claim. I raised my phone and took the picture. My hands shook, rain sliding down the glass. One shot, then another. Proof, truth, death, framed in pixels. My heart broke soundlessly. Hours passed. I sat in my car, rain pounding the roof like an endless heartbeat. Through the blurred windshield, the hotel lights glowed warm and cruel. I imagined them inside, laughing, whispering, lying in ways words couldn't undo. My reflection stared back, soaked in despair. This is what love turns into, I whispered. My phone buzzed. A message from Clara. Don't wait up, love. It's going to be a long night, a long night. The words felt like a knife twisted slow. I typed nothing. I just stared until the screen dimmed. By the time she came home, it was past 2. I watched her quietly from the couch. She looked surprised to see me awake. Hey, she said softly. You're still up? I smiled faintly. Yeah, overtime finished early. Oh. She placed her purse down, her eyes darting briefly toward her phone. I thought you'd be asleep. I couldn't. She laughed nervously. You're getting paranoid again, aren't you? Paranoid? I asked, keeping my voice calm. About what? She tilted her head. You tell me. Maybe about your meetings that end at 2 a.m.? Her face hardened. Ethan, I'm not doing this tonight. I leaned back, my voice steady, almost cold. No need, I already did. Her brows furrowed. What do you mean? I pulled out my phone. The screen glowed between us. Riverside Grand Hotel, does that ring a bell? Her color drained. You followed me? I had to, I said quietly. You stopped telling the truth. She stared, speechless. Say something, Clara. Tell me why you were there. Tell me I'm wrong. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I was working, she finally whispered. With Lucas? Her silence screamed louder than any confession. Tell me, I said, my throat trembling. Did I ever matter, or was I just the fool you came home to? She looked at the floor. You're making this worse than it is. Then make it better, I begged. Her eyes met mine for a second, cold, distant. You wouldn't understand, I laughed, a sound that didn't feel human. You're right. I wouldn't understand how to destroy someone who loved me. Her lip quivered. Stop! I already did, I said. I stopped believing. I stopped hoping. She turned toward the stairs. I can't do this right now. Neither can I whispered. She froze but didn't look back. Her footsteps faded away, leaving the air heavy with everything unspoken. I sat alone in the dark. The pictures on my phone glowed faintly. Her laughter still echoed in my head. Outside, rain kept falling, steady and cold, washing the world clean of everything but pain, and in that silence, something inside me finally broke and stayed broken. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark, listening to the clock tick like a slow confession. When morning came, I already knew what I had to do. Clara walked into the kitchen, her hair damp, eyes tired. You're up early, she said. Couldn't sleep. She reached for her coffee. You should try. You look awful. I know, I said quietly. Maybe it's because I saw too much last night. Her hand froze midair. What do you mean? I took out my phone and placed it on the table. The screen glowed between us, pictures of her and Lucas under the hotel lights. For a moment, she didn't breathe. Then, softly, You followed me again. I had to, I whispered. You left me no choice. Her eyes flickered with something, fear, anger, or maybe shame, but it vanished as quickly as it came. Ethan, she said slowly, This isn't what you think, I laughed hollow and dry. Then tell me what it is. Because it looks like betrayal, she sighed and sat down. We weren't happy anyway. Those words hit harder than the pictures. That's your excuse, I asked. You destroy everything we built because you were bored, her tone sharpened. Don't act like I was the only one unhappy. You changed, Ethan. You were distant. You made me feel invisible. I was distant because I was trying to hold us together, I shouted. I worked late so you could have the life you wanted. I trusted you when everything felt wrong. She stood, her voice rising too. And maybe that trust was never enough. Maybe I wanted something real again. I stared at her, trying to recognize the woman I once loved. Was he real, Clara? Is that what you're calling it now? She turned away. It doesn't matter anymore. It matters to me, I said, my throat tightening. You mattered to me. She looked back, eyes cold, unblinking. You'll get over it. People do. Something inside me cracked open then, quietly, completely. I nodded slowly. Maybe I will. But you'll remember this silence one day. The one between us right now. She didn't answer. The only sound was the slow drip of the coffee machine and the storm breaking outside. I walked to the bedroom and opened the closet. My hands trembled as I pulled down my old suitcase. Ethan, she called from behind me, her voice suddenly softer. Where are you going? Away, I said. Somewhere I can still feel like myself. You're being dramatic, she muttered. Maybe, I said, zipping the bag. But at least I'm being honest. Her breath hitched. You'll regret this. No, I said, lifting the bag. I already regret staying this long. Rain poured as I stepped outside. The world felt colder, heavier. My reflection in the car window looked like a ghost I didn't know anymore. I drove aimlessly until the city blurred into streaks of gray. I didn't know where I was going, only that I couldn't go home. A name flashed in my mind. Ava. Before I could stop myself, I was at her building. The rain soaked me through as I stood there shivering empty. The door opened. Ava's eyes widened. Ethan? What happened to you? I didn't know where else to go, I stammered. She pulled me inside without another word. You're freezing. Sit down. I'm fine, I lied, but my voice broke halfway through. She knelt beside me, worry etched in her face. You're not fine. Tell me what happened. I looked at her, my throat closing. She said we weren't happy anyway. Ava's expression softened. Oh, Ethan. I laughed weakly. Funny thing is, I thought we were. I thought love could fix everything. Sometimes, she said gently, love just shows us where we're breaking. Her words undid me. My chest tightened, and before I could stop it, tears burned my eyes. I didn't want to cry, I said, my voice trembling. I wanted to be strong. You are, Ava whispered, placing her hand over mine. Crying doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. The dam inside me shattered. I pressed my hands to my face and sobbed. Years of silence, love, fear, all of it spilled out in that moment. Ava didn't say a word. She just sat beside me, her presence quiet and warm like a light in the wreckage. When I finally stopped, I whispered, I don't know how to start over. You don't have to yet, she said softly. Just breathe, one breath at a time. I nodded, staring at the rain on the window. My heart still hurt, but for the first time, it wasn't alone. That night, in the faint glow of Ava's living room, I realized something. Clara had shattered me, but maybe that was the only way I could learn how to rebuild. And as I sat there exhausted and broken, I let myself cry again. This time not from weakness, but from release. It had been 3 weeks since I left Clara. 3 weeks of silence that felt heavier than any scream. Ava sat across from me at the cafe, stirring her coffee. You've been staring at that wall for 10 minutes, she said gently. I'm fine, I murmured, though my fingers trembled around the cup. She gave me a look. You say that every day. You think if you repeat it enough, it'll become true? Maybe, I said, forcing a small smile. It's better than saying I'm broken, she sighed. Healing doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A message from Julia, Clara's coworker. Check the news, I clicked the link. My breath caught. The headline screamed at me. Executive scandal. Lucas Turner, an employee caught in affair. My stomach flipped. Beneath it, photos, Clara and Lucas in the hotel lobby. The same ones I'd taken. The same night everything fell apart. I whispered, Julia. She leaked them. Ava leaned closer.
You mean the same Julia who always defended Clara?
Yeah, I said, still staring at the screen. She must have found out what they were doing. Messages flooded in from old colleagues, some shocked, others vindicated. Clara got fired. Lucas's wife filed for divorce. They're both ruined. I didn't know whether to feel relief or pity. Ava spoke softly. How do you feel? I don't know, I admitted. I thought I'd be happy. But it just feels empty, she nodded. Because revenge doesn't rebuild what was lost. Maybe karma just borrowed my pain, I said quietly. It delivered it back to them, but it didn't take it away from me. That evening, I walked through the city alone. The sunset bled over the rooftops, the same color as the anger I once felt. My phone buzzed again, a number I still knew by heart. Clara. I hesitated before answering. Her voice came through, thin and trembling. Ethan. I said nothing. I know you've seen it, she continued. Everyone has. I did. She sniffled softly. They fired me. Lucas, he's gone. His wife took everything. I have nothing left. I leaned against a lamppost, eyes closed. That's the thing about lies, Clara. They burn everything, even the liar. Are you happy now? She asked bitterly. Is this what you wanted? No, I said after a pause. I never wanted your destruction. I just wanted your honesty, she laughed weakly. Honesty was the first thing I lost when I met him. Then you lost yourself, I whispered. I did, she admitted. And maybe I deserve all of this. The silence that followed was thick and heavy. Finally, I said, Goodbye, Clara. She didn't answer. Just the faint sound of crying before the call ended. When I returned to my apartment, Ava was waiting outside with takeout and a smile that felt like sunlight after months of rain. You look lighter, she said. Maybe because I finally let go. She handed me the food. Then tonight we eat like people who survived the storm. We sat on the floor, surrounded by boxes and laughter that didn't feel forced anymore. Between bites, Ava asked, Do you ever think about her? Every night, I said truthfully, But it's different now. I don't miss her. I miss who I thought she was. She nodded slowly. That's grief, Ethan, not love. Grief, I repeated. Yeah, it fits. After dinner, she stood by the window looking at the lights outside. You're starting over, she said. You've got a new job, a new home. That's progress. Progress, I echoed. I guess I'm learning how to breathe again. Ava smiled faintly. You don't have to rush. Healing isn't a race. I know, I said softly. But it's strange. The quieter my world gets, the more I can hear my own heart again. She turned to me. And what's it saying? I met her eyes. That I'm still alive. Later that night, I lay in bed, the room dim and quiet. I scrolled through my gallery until I found the old photo, me and Clara smiling in better times. For a moment, I studied it. The man in that picture looked happy, naive. But he was gone now. I pressed delete. The image vanished into digital ash. Outside, rain began to fall again. Not like the night I broke, but softer, gentler. As if the sky itself was trying to cleanse what was left of me. I whispered to the dark. Maybe some stories end so we can finally live ours. And for the first time in months, I believed it. My phone buzzed on the table, startling me. Clara's name flashed on the screen. I stared at it for a long moment before answering. Ethan, her voice was soft, almost fragile. Clara? I said carefully. It's late. I need to see you, she whispered. Please, I hesitated. Every instinct screamed no, but curiosity and maybe something else won. Where? I asked finally. Can you meet me at the park? Just for a few minutes, I agreed. The drive there was quiet. Rain had fallen earlier, leaving the streets slick and reflective. When I saw her on the bench, her shoulders slumped, hair damp from a stray drizzle, my chest tightened. She looked nothing like the confident woman who had once ruled my world. Ethan, she said as I approached.
Thank you for coming. I sat beside her, keeping my voice steady.
You called, I came. That's all, she swallowed hard. I miss you. I forced my expression neutral. Clara. I know, she interrupted quickly. I know I hurt you. I know I lied and I can't take it back. I nodded slowly, studying her. No, you can't. She looked down at her hands. Lucas left me. Everything fell apart. I thought he loved me, Ethan. I thought he'd be there. I was so wrong, I stayed silent. Her words felt like echoes from the past, not confessions. I want to make things right, she said softly. I want to fix us. I laughed quietly, bitterly. Fix us, I asked? Clara, you chose him over me. You left me to live with lies every night. I know, she said, voice breaking. I thought I deserved better. I didn't think about you. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the wind wash over my face. You thought about yourself. That's the truth. And that's the part you need to accept. Her lips trembled. I never wanted to hurt you. I was scared. Scared? I repeated softly. Scared doesn't give anyone permission to betray the person they love. She flinched but didn't argue. Instead, her gaze dropped to the wet ground. I wanted us to be happy, I said, my voice calm, controlled. I tried. I believed in you, she whispered, almost to herself. I know. And I ruined it, I nodded. Yes, you did. And you have to live with that, Clara. That's your lesson. That's your karma. Tears formed in her eyes, but I didn't reach out. I had learned what it felt like to be burned, and I refused to touch the fire again. I don't expect forgiveness, she said finally. I needed you to know. To hear me say it. I hear you, I said. But hearing isn't the same as restoring what was lost. Her hands shook as she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Do you hate me? I looked at her for a long time, measuring the weight of my answer. No, I'm beyond hate. I'm beyond you, she nodded slowly. I understand. I guess I needed that too. For a moment we sat in silence. The park was empty except for the sound of distant traffic and a lone dog barking somewhere far off. You've moved on, she said finally, almost a statement, not a question. Yes, I said simply. I'm learning to live again, and you have to do the same for yourself. Her lips pressed together, and I could see the shame and regret etched on her face. The woman I once loved was gone, replaced by someone fragile, lost, and painfully human. I thought, maybe we could try, she said, voice breaking. I shook my head slowly. We can't. You chose your path. I've chosen mine. Her shoulders sagged, a quiet surrender. I deserved this, didn't I? Yes, I said softly. And that's enough. I stood then, feeling the weight lift slightly from my chest. Goodbye, Clara. She looked up, eyes glistening, and whispered, Goodbye, Ethan. I walked away, leaving her on that bench under the dim park lights, her regrets filling the space where love used to live. The night air was cold, but I felt lighter. For the first time in months, I felt the quiet satisfaction of closure. I didn't look back. My phone rang in the quiet morning. Clara's name glowed on the screen. I hesitated. My thumb hovered over the answer button. Something in me knew this was the last time. I answered, Ethan, please, I need to see you, she whispered. Her voice trembled, soft and broken. I closed my eyes for a moment. Clara, I know I hurt you. I know I've ruined everything, she said, almost pleading. But I can't stop thinking about you. I miss you. I stayed silent, letting her words hang in the air. Please, she continued. Can we meet? Just talk? Just for a moment. I exhaled slowly. Where? The cafe near the park? 6 p.m., she said quietly. Fine, I said. Just talk. The cafe smelled of coffee and pastries, warm and ordinary. She was already there when I arrived. She looked smaller somehow, like the confident mask had fallen. Ethan, she said softly, rising as I approached. Thank you for coming. I nodded, keeping my tone steady. You asked, I came. That's all. Her hands trembled slightly as she sat. I don't know how to start. I can't stop thinking about the mistakes I made. I looked at her, feeling the old ache stir in my chest. Clara, I know, she interrupted, voice shaking. I know I don't deserve this, and I don't expect you to. Please, I want another chance. I swallowed hard, feeling my heart pull toward her, even though my mind fought. Clara, do you understand what you're asking? Yes, she whispered. I'll do anything. Anything to make it right. I took a slow breath. I can forgive you. Her eyes widened, hope flickering. You will? Yes, I said quietly. I forgive you. But forgiveness isn't reunion. Her face fell. I
thought maybe. No, I said, interrupting gently.
Love without respect isn't love. I can forgive you, but I can't forget. I can't trust what you once broke. Tears formed in her eyes. So that's it? That's it, I said firmly, but not harshly. We had something beautiful, but it ended because of choices we can't undo. I will always remember the good, but I have to live in the present. Her lip trembled. I understand. I hope you do, I said softly. And I hope you can forgive yourself one day. That's the hardest part, Clara. Living with your choices. She nodded, a quiet surrender in her gaze. I'm sorry, Ethan. For everything. I know, I said, voice calm. And I hope you find peace, even if it's not with me. We sat in silence for a few moments, the hum of the cafe around us. I felt the old hurt, the weight of betrayal, start to loosen. I'll go, she said finally, standing. I don't want to make this harder than it already is. I nodded. Go, start over, just don't forget the lessons you learned. Her shoulders sagged and she walked away. I watched her leave, feeling a strange mixture of sadness and relief. Outside, the air was crisp, soft with the coming evening. I breathed in slowly, filling my lungs with it. The ache in my chest had not vanished completely, but it had changed, lighter, quieter. I walked along the empty streets, letting the wind brush past me. The memories of betrayal, heartbreak, and lies floated behind me like shadows fading into the distance. A small smile tugged at my lips. For the first time in months, I felt free, not from the past, but from the weight it had carried. I whispered to myself, I can forgive, but I don't have to forget. And that's enough. The city lights reflected on the wet pavement, soft and forgiving, like a promise that even broken things can find peace. I felt it in my chest, the space where the hurt had been. Calm. Stillness. A quiet understanding that life moves forward, even when the heart bears scars. I stopped and looked up at the sky, fading from gold to twilight blue. For the first time, I breathed fully, without pain, without hesitation, and I let her go. It had been months since Clara disappeared from my life. Months of quiet mornings, long walks, and rebuilding a life I thought was shattered beyond repair. I was walking through the park, Ava by my side when I saw her. Clara. She stood near the fountain, staring into the water, her posture slumped, like she carried invisible chains. I froze, not from shock, but from recognition. She looked like a ghost of the past, fragile and lost. Ava nudged my arm. "Ethan, are you okay?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I'm fine." She looked up at me, curious. "You're smiling, I guess," I said softly. "It's not pride. Just closure." Clara didn't notice me. Her hands twisted nervously and she muttered something under her breath. I walked closer, careful not to startle her. "Clara," I said gently. Her head snapped up, eyes wide, startled. She didn't smile. She didn't run. She just stared at me, unblinking. "Ethan, you're—" she began, but I held up a hand. "Don't," I said quietly. "I'm not here to fight or argue. I just—" "Saw you?" Her lips pressed together. I didn't expect to see you." "Neither did I admitted. But life has a funny way of showing you what matters and what doesn't." She looked down, twisting her fingers. "I've lost everything. My job, Lucas." "My pride," I nodded. "I've heard. I'm sorry it had to be so hard. I never thought karma could be this cruel," she whispered. I smiled softly. "It's not about cruelty. It's about consequences. You made choices in life. It shows us what those choices cost." She looked up at me, eyes glistening. "Do you hate me?" I shook my head. "No, hate takes energy. I've saved mine for living." Her shoulders slumped, relief and sadness mingling. I wish I could go back." "Maybe," I said, "but you can't. All you can do is move forward." "Like I have." Ava squeezed my hand. "He's right, Clara. Some lessons are painful, but necessary." Clara nodded slowly, her voice soft. "I understand. I just wanted you to know that I regret everything. Every lie, every betrayal." I smiled faintly. "I know, and that's enough. For me, at least." She studied me, surprised by the calm in my voice. You look different, stronger." "I've rebuilt," I said simply. "From the ashes. Not just surviving, but learning. I've learned that love isn't just about holding on. Sometimes it's about knowing when to let go." She nodded, tears threatening, and whispered, "I hope you're happy." "I am," I said, glancing at Ava, who smiled warmly. "Happier than I thought I could be. I've found someone who values me, respects me, and stands beside me. That's all I needed." Clara's eyes softened, and she gave a faint, sad smile. I hope you never forget what you deserve." "I won't," I said. "And I hope you remember it too, even if it's hard." We stood in silence for a few moments, the fountain murmuring between us. I realized then that the weight I had carried for months was finally gone. "I should go," Clara said finally. "Thank you for listening." "Take care, Clara," I said, voice calm, steady. "For your own sake." She turned and walked away, small and uncertain, fading into the park's shadows. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. Closure doesn't come from chasing the past. It comes from letting it pass. I turned to Ava, feeling the warmth of her hand in mine. "Let's go home," I said, smiling genuinely. She nodded. "You've earned this." I took a deep breath, letting the evening air fill me. The city lights reflected softly on the wet streets like tiny stars guiding us forward. I felt lighter than I had in months, unburdened, alive. "Sometimes," I whispered to myself, "love teaches us through pain, and sometimes losing someone is the only way to find yourself." Ava squeezed my hand, and I finally allowed myself to smile without hesitation, without fear. The man I had been, broken and naive, was gone. In his place was someone stronger, wiser, and ready to live. And for the first time in a long while, I felt like everything was going to be okay.